the city limits. So this is my first trip beyond, and I'm glad that we came to Duluth. It was a beautiful drive. Somebody's gay or not, as we say to them, so what's your story? And if they tell us they're coming out person. Thankfully, a lot of those same people also have a second coming out story. When you took that step, when you decided to be open and honest with somebody else in your life about who you were as a gay person. I actually have a third coming out story, which makes my stories a little more unique, but I'll get to that in a minute.
Continue to work under the old contract.
For the past 10 months, city union leaders and city officials have been trying to hammer out an agreeable contract. Ellen Netland, a union leader, says the last proposal is unfair. He says it forces union employees with family health insurance to pay an extra $200 to $300 a month.
Our members are working families. This contract is an attack on working families, trying to make working families have less money take-home pay, and we think that's wrong.
If I took that out of the pocket of all the taxpayers in the community, I would be attacking the rest of the families in this community as well by increasing their taxes to cover those costs. There's a collective bargaining process that's going on, and I'm going to continue in good faith in that process.
Union leaders say they want to settle now. They believe these pamphlets and signs will get their message across. No contract, no peace.
Part of our reason for the action tonight is to turn up the heat, to explain to the mayor that we can't wait forever. We need a contract settlement.
I think it's really disappointing that they would picket an event that the former Vice President of the United States is going to be at.
When officers responded to the shooting above the Cozy Bar, they weren't shocked. This wasn't the first time they were called out to this area for violent crimes.
Our areas where we have the highest calls, especially police calls, are in the core areas, Central Hillside, East Hillside, and West Hillside, or actually Lincoln Park area. That's because of the concentration of people that live here.
Police say the high number of homeless and vagrants in the area can also create problems.
I think when you have that many people and they're living close together, and then you throw in the mix of alcohol and all the behavior problems, and then you're bound to have more police calls. And you're bound to have incidents like shootings and stabbings occasionally.
Several area groups like the Hillside Business Association and the Greater Downtown Council have been working with authorities to help clean up the areas. Marcia Hales is a city council person in charge of the Central District.
Well, I think we're doing a lot of things through Weed and Seed, through block clubs, through business groups getting together.
Many downtown areas and cities across the nation have had problems with drugs and crime historically, and Duluth is no different. And some city officials say that they're working hard to correct that problem. And there are things that can be done, according to Hales. She wants to target major areas of crime through charging money to businesses and residents with repeat police calls.
And I hope that at some point soon we will be able to put some sort of legislation in to bill residents and businesses that are creating these problems.
Police say in the meantime they'll continue to try a proactive approach at crime fighting in trouble areas, stepping in before violence starts. In Duluth, Justin Acree, Channel 6 News.
Someone else saying it rather than me.
We wanted to help the Paul Antonich family with their travel expenses, and it could be a lot of fun for us and a lot of fun for everyone else, and hopefully it will all come out the better.
The zoning of this 60 acres of Miller Hill land has been changed from residential to commercial and back again as owners and residents fought for what they thought it should be used for. Discussions are underway again, according to city planner Darrell Lewis.
Every 3 or 4 months it seems like we get together, and they called us and said, we've got something that looks like we're ready to propose to the city. Can we sit down and talk about how we might go about doing that? Can be heard.
Lewis met with Jay Scott of the Opus development firm to discuss possible commercial development on the site without changing the current residential zoning.
And part of that provision of the ordinance is that it allows on larger tracts of land up to 25% of the area to be used for commercial use.
Scott says Opus will get input from resident groups before deciding on which proposal to go with. Lewis says most of the people he talked to are in favor of a commercial project.
In general, the commercial would be better, and because the residential is overpopulate the neighborhood, I think, and the commercial would hopefully allow some open space left here.
If an agreement on commercial development can't be made, then the current owner may rekindle a plan to develop 100% of this area as low-cost housing. But either way, it appears that we're one step closer to resolving a debate that's gone on for 3 years. In Duluth, Justin Acree, Channel 6 News.
Again, what we're hearing from snowmobilers who support.
The group Minnesotans for Responsible Recreation is speaking out against snowmobile trails through the city of Duluth.
The noise, the fumes, and the danger to others that this trail would bring to our community is unacceptable.
The controversy begins here at the end of the Munger Trail. The city wants to take this trail and extend it to Canal Park. The question is, who would be allowed to use it? The city supports extending the Munger Trail along West Duluth into Canal Park, where it would connect with the Lake Walk up to Lester Park. Officials are also considering whether to allow snowmobiles along Munger Trail to Canal Park by Lake Superior Center.
We're trying to stop snowmobiles down to Canal Park. I'd like to call your...
That's something City Planner Dale Lewis says will never happen, despite what happens with the West Duluth Trail.
The Lake Walk is off limits to snowmobiles.
The group's flyer asked citizens to let Mayor Gary Doty know they don't want snowmobiles on the Lake Walk. Apparently, neither does he. In a letter dated August 12th to the state, Mayor Doty specifically states, quote, "We have not indicated support for a snowmobile trail through Duluth. I would like to make sure that is specifically excluded from consideration."
We want that. We want the trail to go all the way through Duluth. But we don't want a snowmobile trail to go all the way through Duluth.
If the state does approve funding for extending the trail, the actual decision to allow snowmobiles on part of that extension ultimately will lie in the hands of the City Council. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
We had a very unusual childhood. We lived in an orphanage, and for us to help each other was not an unusual thing.
Mr. Dahl, here's this man. He's in love with your sister. Did you slam on the brakes of the car and say, "What are you talking about, you SOB"?
No. I drove down the road for a while, got lost, and Dick drove the rest of the way home, but it was very, very painful. It was very much. I can't describe the pain. Anybody who would go through that would know what I experienced.
Some people sing karaoke just for the fun of it, but others turn their favorite pastime into a dream. James Davidson says he was singing in local bars when he decided to pursue a career in music.
When I call your name.
I've been singing really strong now for about 4 years, mainly around town. And why I do it is the fulfillment of what used to be a dream, and still may be a dream.
These dream chasers come to the Minnesota Country Music Festival with hopes of being discovered.
These are people from the Midwest, of course, from the Dakotas, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, who are interested in country music, and they want to compete, and they hope that they will win.
People all across the country dream of making it big in country music. Here at the Minnesota Country Music Festival, that dream can become a reality because the winner of the festival receives a trip to Branson, Missouri.
Well, I've been singing, just messing around since I was about 3, and then I started singing in competition when I was 9. I want to be a singer when I grow up, and I want to go to Nashville and sing.
A few previous contestants have signed with recording labels after winning the Minnesota event. Organizers say this year could produce many new stars.
We call this our annual harvest of Minnesota country talent. And I think it is a good harvest this year.
In Chisholm, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
They're really going wild, and it's always a good time. You can't ever find a better dancer. When you find a Special Olympic athlete, you found that dancer. They will not get off the floor until you shut the door.
That's how much room the poor thing had to move. Tied tight to the tree.
Last Thursday, Mary Schrader discovered a puppy shot in the head and chest with a shotgun in North Star Township. She rushed it to the hospital, and the dog miraculously survived. Then the news came that a second dog was tied here. Saturday, Marion sheriff's officers searched the woods with no luck.
Calling, searching, but he's gone, and I would imagine after being shot at, he's probably afraid now.
If he's alive.
Yeah, if he's alive, yeah.
As investigators move closer to arresting the persons responsible, every day Mary has gone to visit Phoenix the dog.
There's my baby, come on. Yes, there's my baby. Oh, there's my baby.
Phoenix is doing great in his recovery, wearing a t-shirt to hide the drainage from the gunshot wounds to his chest.
Well, when he first came in, we had bleeding and consolidation in his chest up in here, so you don't have air filling his entire lung field. And now today we were just doing a recheck to make sure everything's going well, and we've got air filling the lung field so that that blood and consolidation is going away.
The dog needs another surgery to clean up tissue damage, but the veterinarian staff is donating all its services at no charge to Mary. And then, the best news of all, the other dog Mary had been searching for, the dog that was tied up next to Phoenix, has been found.
Oh my God.
And he's alive. Found alive and well.
There was more meat. And there was no wounds or, oh, it's going to be okay all around now.
Amazingly, one dog brought back from the brink of death, the other cheating it. It's been a long, exhausting day for Mary, and just the beginning of her new life with her new friend. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Everybody's helping each other out and getting materials and supplies. Custodial staff has been excellent at helping get things put together, so things are working out. We realize it's not the best situation, but we'll do the best that we can.
Despite all the media attention focusing on kids, I've just been told that we're not really the ones who caused the initial problem. It was people who were breaking laws like panhandling and drunk and disorderly. If this proposal goes through, we will be being punished for those crimes.
The information that we've been receiving from individuals that we've been interviewing, there's some indication that there's been some gang affiliation here. We're still, again, it's premature, a little early to comment on.
What type of wounds did he have?
I can't answer that question. I don't know the answer to that yet.
Suspects turn themselves in, you apprehend them?
We
It's election day in the small town of Marble, population 618. Hot issues this year include revitalizing Main Street, paving the alleys, and now finding out what's wrong with the water. On Monday, the state notified Marble residents that, quote, recent monitoring of the Marble water system has indicated the presence of bacterial contamination, end quote. And that means this water is no longer safe for drinking, or residents will get sick.
I have to run to the bathroom all the time from it. And that's what most of the people have been saying, that they have to run to the bathroom mostly.
After Bill got sick from the water, he and his wife Darlene aren't taking any chances. They picked up water from the Marble Town Hall, where the annual Civic Club luncheon also features boxes and boxes of safe water. Along with the mystery comes the inconvenience. Not only do residents have to boil their water before drinking it, they also have to boil their water before doing their dishes. A state health official is checking out the problem, beginning with the city's pump and water source, a deep well. Meantime, residents are pulling together. Ron Gangle is handing out water free to Marble residents at his convenience store.
No use taking advantage of somebody when they're down. Might as well work together as a community, and we all have to live here after a while, too.
As they wait for answers, residents continue to pick up their bottled water and go about their business, headed to the polls this election day. In Marble, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
When you are advised as a community not to travel, please do not travel. There's a reason that we tell you that. We want to keep you off the road. We want to keep you safe.
there are 2 juveniles in custody at the present time relative to this matter. It would be the intent of our office to proceed to secure certification of these 2 individuals as adults, and we expect that those proceedings would be initiated this week.
Me of the dedication of America's veterans and servicemen over the past years, not just in the last year or 2, but looking back through the total history of the country and what they've given to the nation in preserving freedom and our way of life.
Glad you're here, and we know that your sponsors and teaching quality. Whatever major you might, our service responsibilities expand. Introducing people this morning. So the first
we want to show them that the sky's the limit. There are opportunities there. There's universities and community colleges that are wanting them to come and offer them opportunities.
Kind of a whoosh and a hard thud, and the trailer shook, and I went and looked outside. But
what he saw was the body of a 45-year-old Brainerd man who had jumped to his death in a skydiving accident. Robert Young was falling at 120 miles an hour when he hit the ground. He never had a chance.
One of the jumpers on the ground said he only saw 3 parachutes where there should have been 4. We heard the sirens. We kind of put it together after that, what had happened.
An investigation concluded Young's main chute wouldn't open, and he pulled his reserve chute too late.
It'd been 4.5 months since he jumped. He had jumped November 30th down in Texas, and so this would have been the first jump of the season. I guess I did assume that they would do a supervised practice jump.
I-Team 6 has learned such accidents are not all that uncommon. In July, a 31-year-old former Duluth man jumped to his death in Montana. Blood tests showed Bruce Line had been drinking before he crash-landed. Then during the annual World Skydiving Convention in Illinois, 2 people died in just the first 2 days of the event.
Sometimes people make a wrong judgment. Maybe they panic a little bit and make a reaction that shouldn't have happened.
And sometimes that reaction kills them. It appears to be a deadly sport, but is it as dangerous as it seems? Veteran jumper Shirley Huey says even after breaking her pelvis and her foot in separate skydiving accidents, she still believes it's safe.
I'm not going to say that it comes without risk, but I also feel like anything you do in life, there's a lot of risk to it.
It's not any more dangerous as walking down the street.
When a man died in a skydiving accident in Superior this summer, news reports listed those jumping with the victim as professional skydivers. A Duluth woman who lost an arm, a leg, her ability to speak normally, and nearly her life in a skydiving accident 12 years ago took issue with the term professional. Why?
because there is no such thing as professional skydivers.
I-Team 6 has learned there are no legal regulations governing training for skydiving. In fact, there are almost no mandatory rules for the sport at all.
The matter of regulation of skydiving is one that you would think would be subject to federal regulation. However, there are no federal air regulations that I'm familiar with on skydiving, but
The Federal Aviation Administration sent us these regulations concerning skydiving. They cover the aircraft from which skydivers can jump. They cover the packing of the parachute and the material from which they're made. And they cover the areas into which skydivers can jump. But there's nothing in these regulations concerning training or monitoring the sport. The rules are simple. Skydivers must tell the closest airport where they intend to land. Their parachute must be packed by either a certified parachute packer or by the skydiver himself, and they're not supposed to jump while drunk or high. But there are no requirements for testing them before they jump. There is a private organization called the U.S. Parachute Association that has published rules for the sport. The rules cover training and supervision, but it's important to understand that compliance with any of these rules is strictly voluntary.
The USPA sets up very, very decent criteria for basic safety operations, and they do a very, very good job, and it's in everyone's best interest to follow them.
But there is no procedure for monitoring to check to see if skydivers are following the recommended rules. Representatives of the Superior Skydiving Association say their members learn the rules during their training program. But Robert Young's widow has concerns about the extent of that training.
It is a very dangerous sport, and you've got to know what you're doing. And, you know, a question is, are they getting enough instructions to be diving safely?
Jason Oxford was diving with Robert Young when he fell to his death. He says accidents like this can give skydiving a bad name, but he feels the sport is essentially safe.
I think it was just a freak accident. I don't think that regulations would have made any difference on it.
There is a movement to establish some laws regarding training for skydiving and to set up a system for monitoring the sport. But the United States Parachute Association is fighting against that interference. At this point, you jump at your own risk. In Superior, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News. A fun, thrill-seeking afternoon for Brandy Meadows 20 years ago ended in tragedy. In 1985, Brandy jumped from an airplane in Osceola, Wisconsin. The parachute she was given by her instructors that day was bigger than any she'd ever used before. Over 100 pounds, Brandy drifted with the winds and didn't know how to control her descent. She was blown into power lines and was very badly burned.
I was very confused. Someone was yelling left, and there was just not enough time, and I just didn't know what to do.
Brandy nearly died that day. So it cost her an arm, a leg, and her ability to speak. The wires burned right through her throat. The voice you're hearing is Brandy's translator. Brandy speaks with an electronic voice box and is difficult to understand. But Brandy was lucky. She didn't die.
Most days are good because I have my children, and I'm very thankful for what I have.
But after more than 50 surgeries, there were days when Brandy wished she would have died.
I was a very angry person for the first years after my accident.
I love you because you make me breakfast. I want to move like.
Brandy has learned to channel that anger. She blames her accident on inadequate training and an overall lack of supervision of the sport.
The lack of regulations is my concern. Anything can be going on and no one's watching.
Brandy wants others to know the risks they face when they put their trust in the wrong people.
My training was very unstructured, and there was a lot of partying and such going on with the people I was with. There was drinking day and night, whether they were jumping or not jumping. I have seen people jumping under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or both.
Members of the Superior Skydiving Association, of which Brandy used to be a member, categorically deny any such activity.
70% of our members do not drink at all, and there's certainly no drugs involved.
Brandy wants people to know that the sport of skydiving can be safe. In fact, she's jumped again since her accident. She dived in with a parachutist she trusts, and while she still battles pain and depression, she feels the jump helped her to once again take control of her life. That control has allowed her to start her own business. She makes and sells old-fashioned rag dolls. Her business is called Once Around. Like her dolls, Brandy feels she too has been once around and has been given a second chance. Duluth, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
I really feel that we're in very, very good hands with Alan Kildall. He's done a wonderful job, and the whole true story, the story of Dick McNutt, will come out at trial.
Dorothy, are you sure you don't want to say anything on camera, even what you just said before?
Only if John does.
You can come stand by her, John. Let me just...
Oh, that's a nice little guy.
It's just minutes into the Minnesota firearms deer season, and 13-year-old Brandon Dunbar has shot a deer for the first time in his life.
First deer. I was an old man before I got my first deer.
As soon as I heard the crunch in the woods, I stood up, and then when he came into the distance, I pulled up. And as soon as I saw the antlers, I picked him out and shot.
Brandon is a third generation of Dunbar's hunting this morning, under the watchful eye of his grandfather Jack and his father Scott.
Oh, I always took him along with me bow hunting and squirrel hunting and that kind of thing. He's always been around guns and stuff, so he's pretty comfortable with guns.
Deer hunting has been a deeply ingrained family tradition for generations in this country, and getting that first deer is a rite of passage for many. For Brandon Dunbar, the day became even more special when, within minutes of getting his first deer, he shot his second. This time, a much larger 8-point buck.
On my way out to the fence from the woods, and here come Brandon, and he was trying to be really cool and said, "Did you see anything, Grandpa?" And I said, "No, didn't see a thing. I got one." He said, just like that. So he was pretty excited, but he was trying to control it a little bit.
He was pretty calm, actually. I think I was more excited than he was. I never thought he'd get a double, but I knew he could hit the deer if he got it in front of him because he's a pretty good shot.
Pretty good when you consider that, on average, Minnesota hunters get a deer only about every third year. But Brandon's success strikes a deeper chord.
It's just a neat experience. I don't know, it's, like you say, it adds a lot to the experience itself when you got your own kids and family with you. That is a big body deer.
Generation. Congratulations, sir, young man.
That is neat.
That's a dandy.
That's a heck of a deer. Grandpa Jelm, see that? My gosh. Holy cow, that is a nice deer.
The pictures record special moments for this young hunter, his first and second deer taken the same day. But far more important that his dad and grandpa were there with him, just the way it's supposed to be.
Smile, Jack. That's it.
Flash ain't working.
Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash ain't working. Flash
For many years we've had high numbers of deer in the park in the summer and especially in the winter, and they've damaged the vegetation from over-browsing to the point that we have very little natural tree regeneration in the park.
When you take a walk back in some of the woods we've been through, you can see that all the brush in that is all chewed off as high as what a deer can reach standing on its hind legs.
In order to let the forest regrow, the Department of Natural Resources set up the special hunt that is taking place now. The 9-day hunt is designed to thin the park's tree-devouring deer herd. It's the first deer hunt in the park since the 1950s, and it has animal rights activists concerned.
Well, we haven't had any protesters show up or any demonstrations or any problems around the park. We had a lot of comments during our information meetings last winter from people that were concerned.
Concerned anti-hunters say the deer herd could be reduced through the use of live traps or contraceptives. The DNR disagrees.
And those can be used in very limited situations where you have an isolated population, like on an island. You can use the contraceptives, but here you would have so many deer coming in and out that you can't effectively use it. And relocating deer is very hard on the deer. They don't transport very well, and you have high mortality rates when you try to trap and relocate them.
The DNR says they hope to reduce the Jay Cook deer herd by 60 animals this year, and in order to let the vegetation regrow, they'll have to keep having these hunts for the next several years. In Jay Cook State Park, near Thompson and Carlton, Dave Anderson, Channel 6 News.
No, this isn't Alaska, and it's not the North Pole. And we definitely know this is not the Twin Ports. But it is in the Northland. Welcome to Ironwood in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. This place has more snow than it can handle.
I knew it was coming last night already, but I was surprised we had this much this morning. I hope we don't get what we had last year.
Yeah.
I had snowbanks 6-7 feet high here last year.
Marv's snowblower is fine for a driveway, but the bigger jobs need bigger tools. Dozens of snowplows clear the streets, and some jobs, like this car lot buried under snow, may have to wait until tomorrow. And although it takes a lot of work to shovel out, many are excited to find a little snow.
We went out one time, we broke a couple of carbides, some skis, because there wasn't enough snow out, so we put the snowmobiles away, and this is the first time they've seen snow since, I think, last year.
After getting more than a foot of snow, we decided to ask the people of Ironwood, Michigan, what they had to say to those of us in the Northland who have no snow.
You guys do not know what you're missing. Not at all. This stuff is great. You got to get your sleds on the trailers, rent the room, come up here and enjoy our trails.
The big snowstorm was also good for something a little more peaceful, like a walk with the dog. In Ironwood, Michigan, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
In chef school, they gave us all bars of soap and said, have at it, you'll get your block of ice tomorrow.
Here we've been praying.
Last week, Larry Taylor was walking into work at Kmart when he made an unusual discovery.
I looked on and there was a bank envelope, and I bent down to pick it up, and outside I could feel there was money in it, and the bank statement was on the outside, and then written in letters is how much money was in it, and it was over $400.
Larry immediately went inside and turned the money over to his manager. After some help from the bank, the cash was returned to a young mother in Cherry who had lost it the night before. To really appreciate Larry's honesty, keep in mind he has 4 children, all under the age of 6, and his youngest, his 3-month-old, has been in and out of the hospital since the day she was born. Larry says he could have used the money for a lot of toys or to pay bills, but that just wouldn't be right. When he told the story to his wife, she didn't believe him.
You know, she thought I was just kidding. But then when I got in the next night, you know, it was in the paper, and my son and I went to the store, and I said, go show this to Mom. He said, Mommy, who's on the front page?
The receiving clerk, normally not in the public eye, is back at work in the storage area of Kmart. $400 less in his wallet, yet rich in the knowledge he did the right thing.
But this way, I can go to bed at night and not have to worry, did I do the right thing, when I know I did the right thing, so.
In Hibbing, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Long hours of hockey practice are nothing new to hockey players. But what is new is the warmer temperatures this year have left many ice rinks in rough shape, unusable, forcing hockey practice indoors and creating a scheduling crunch.
As a coach, we'll take whatever ice we can get. So if we have to take the 8 o'clock slot, 9 o'clock slot, we'll take it. But as a parent, I feel bad because I know my boy's going to be dragging all week now.
Right now this arena is bare, but earlier this morning at 6 a.m., grade school kids were out here practicing because of overpacked and tight scheduling. And now after school gets over, many teams will return, staying until 11 o'clock, even midnight. Many people say this town needs more ice.
We started a fundraising effort for a new facility in town. The facility isn't only going to be an ice arena, it's going to be a multi-purpose facility.
The new plan calls for a $4 million renovation and expansion to the Peterson Arena in the Lincoln Park neighborhood, not only for hockey, but also for basketball and soccer. But the Duluth Amateur Hockey Association is having a hard time coming up with the funding.
For this, well, right now we have $1.125 million committed from the city, Mayor Doty, and right now we're hoping to receive a $250,000 Mighty Duck grant. That leaves us approximately $2.6 million short of our fundraising drive.
Many hockey parents say without the new arena, Duluth could face an ice crisis, maybe keeping kids even later at night just to play a game of hockey. In Duluth, Adam May, Channel 6 News.
It's not doing